Hello again, welcome back to the channel. If you've been here before, if you haven't, welcome to the channel. Today we are at Joralemon Park in Ravena, New York, and we'll be playing the South 18 layout. Hole number 1 is a 359 foot par 3 that plays to the basket right between the trees at the top center of the screen. Unfortunately, did not make the gap. Unfortunately, I threw that one a little further outside than I wanted to. It was probably good to make it over the branches. However, I've left myself with a slightly obstructed circle 2 putt for the par. Gave it a run, a little high. It'll be a tap in, unfortunate bogey on hole 1. Hole 2 is a 296 foot par 3 that plays across the field up into the trees to the basket at the top center of the screen. It's a little short of the opening, but it is up there, possibly a putt. I managed to be off center a little bit from where I wanted to be. I'm in probably mid-range circle 2. I'm gonna give it some form of run and see if we can get back on track. One off the band and one off the top of the cage. We want to be in the middle. Now that we have crossed the street, we are on hole 3, which is a 515 foot par 4 that plays straight down this fairway, takes a little bit of a jog to the right by the tree that is lit up at the center of the screen, and then continues towards that tree that is lit up between the two trees far back at the end of the screen. Get off it. All right, so we navigated the first fairway, ended up off to the right. Hopefully we didn't get too much skip. Did unfortunately get a little bit more skip and off to the right than I wanted. You can see the disc is right there. And the basket is still at the center of the screen there. On the initial shot, I was much further back than I actually thought I was. So here, I'm just gonna try and get something up around the trees and lay up for hopefully a drop-in par. Went right over top of the basket, put a little bit more on it than I really wanted. Should be easy to clean up though. So we've got that to clean up the par. Hole 4 is a 275 foot par 3 that plays through the fairway to the front of the screen, to the right, and the basket is tucked right there at the center of the screen. That's what the full shot looks like. Did not put quite enough on that to fully make it around the corner. Definitely sounded like I caught a branch right at the actual apex and probably drop down potentially a long putt, but there is OB long of the basket, so I'll assess it when I get up there. So yeah, as I thought it sounded like, I hit some branches up there, did not fully make it around the corner, and ended up dropping right here with the OB long of the basket. I'm just gonna put something as close to it as I can without really pushing it. Clean that one up for another par. All right, we are now on to hole 5, which is a 415-foot par 4 that plays straight ahead, just past the trees. You really actually kind of want to aim for that tree in the center of the screen in the back that is missing all the bark. Just be a little short of that, because at that point the fairway does turn about 90 degrees to the left. There is OB on this hole, which is over the rock wall to the right. On this hole, I usually try to get aggressive and push through the gap to the left. So I'm gonna take my Buzz OS and try and get something up there and eat off as much of the second fairway as I can. A little bit outside where I actually wanted to be. Did not make it around the trees. Here's where I am. The basket is still way down that way. So I think my play here is going to just be to try to get it into the other fairway. Still try to play pretty aggressive. So I'm going to go with a tomahawk with my Venom. Try and get through this gap and then finish somewhat down the fairway there. So it was just coming out of it before it hit that tree. Did hit the tree, dropped down in the fairway. Thought it was going to get a little bit more of the fairway than it actually did, but we're in the fairway with an upshot, hopefully to get it close enough to save the par. So that's where we are. You should be able to see the basket up on the hill to the center of the screen. I'm pinched off a little bit by the tree. On this one, to try to get around this tree, I don't really like this line just based on where I am. So I'm going to try and step out and take a forehand with a Z Buzz. Hopefully get it to flip up a little bit and push towards the basket. I did not put nearly enough hyzer on that. Ended up turning it over a little bit more than anticipated. It is looking like it's off the fairway up there, probably in circle 2 range. Maybe a possibility of a putt. I'll have to see. So I'm actually just a couple steps outside of circle 1. The feather's right there. However, this bush and those 2 trees are directly in front of the basket and where I am, forcing me to step out and try and forehand putt. Definitely not something I practice very often. Hole number 6 is a 335-foot par 3. Plays down the fairway ahead and slightly to the right, as the basket is back behind all of the trees to the center of the screen. Was hoping for a little bit more on that, but came out, definitely turned a little bit before fading back to a little bit off, maybe to the left of the fairway. My main goal here is to get something close and try and prevent rollaways, because there's definitely some hill up by the basket. So I'm gonna go with the soft zone on a forehand and try and put it close. I was more worried about hitting the tree to the left of the screen. I just didn't put enough on it and ended up hitting the tree off to the right. Definitely still going to be outside circle. So like I said, we're definitely outside of circle 1 as the marker is right there. I really hate to waste that drive there, so I'm going to give this a bid on a step putt. We now crossed the road again and are on hole 7, which is a 269 foot par 3. It plays through the gap and then to the right. I really wanted to be just underneath and to the left where that jogged out a little bit to finish getting the full flight. So just off to the right, you can see the tree that I hit. The basket is straight ahead with the road that is long of the basket being OB. There really is not much here that I feel too comfortable with. There's a high hyzer line, but you've got to avoid all the trees, or there is a patent pending Annie shot, which definitely is the weakest part of my game. So I'm actually going to give that a go and see what I can do. That was the exact shot that I wanted, but 3 inches too high. Not even mad. And we have that to clean up the par. Hole 8 is a 460 foot par 4 that you just want to play out into the field and get past the tree on the left. The very last one is ideal because the basket is up in the woods up there on top of a large rock. You'll see it shortly. So that one definitely got up way too high. Ended up being very short. Did at least look like it beat the trees to where all I'll have to deal with is the ceiling. So straight ahead is where I ended up tombstoning slightly. And like I said, the basket is up on the rock. I'm gonna try and fight through as much of that as I can. Hopefully give myself a putt for the birdie. I really liked the line it was on. Unfortunately, it just did not fight. So I'll have to have an up and down for a par. And I went way too long. That'll be a tester for sure. So like I said, I definitely went too long. The circle 1 marker is right there. So I'm looking like I'm just on the edge of being in circle 2. So I'm just going to give this as good of a bid as I can. So it sat right here for another tap in for another bogey. Hole 9 is a 286 foot par 3 that plays across the field behind that big tree to the center of the screen, and then it actually goes to the left slightly. There is an OB creek long of the basket though. Definitely way too much hyzer on that. Super early. That was a really, really, really bad release. So I think I'm gonna try and go with a tomahawk through and hopefully finish towards the basket without hitting any of this stuff up here. Definitely not gonna be the easiest or the ideal shot. So that didn't end up panning out at all, but it does look like it's within the circle, giving me at least a putt to save the par. So it actually looks like I'm just outside of circle one. So I'm definitely gonna give this a bid on the step putt. Hopefully we can save the par. Felt a little bit of wind, didn't really adjust for it, ended up going way too high, catching the wind and sailing over the basket. It did roll a little deep of the basket. So unfortunately that was another bogey on hole 9, which has put me at 5 over on the front 9. So thank you for watching and look for the back 9 coming soon. Thank you.